Shundos are the penultimate collector's item in Pokémon GO, and the methods for getting them have certainly changed over time. So for this video, I'm going to be sharing you my methods for getting a whole bunch of Shundos, and believe me, some of these methods might be things that you were not aware of. Hey, how's it going everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon GO video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. So today we're going to be talking about Shundos. They are basically my most favorite kind of Pokemon in Pokemon GO, and getting them are obviously incredibly difficult, but I do have myself quite a bit of Shundos within my Pokemon GO collection, and I want to share some of my methods that I've been utilizing for the past several years for getting myself these very elusive Pokemon. So first and foremost, what exactly is a Shundo? Well, basically it is a 100% IV Pokemon that just so happens to be a shiny. Yeah, these are incredibly difficult to get because on top of shiny Pokemon being incredibly difficult, it's also really hard to get yourself perfect IVs for any Pokemon. It just comes down to a lot of incredible luck, and there's plenty of ways that you can manipulate that luck to work in your favor and pick up yourself a whole bunch of Shundos. So the first method is the obvious one. You will want to do lucky trades with your friends and trade shinies within each other. Like, that's probably the one method for how I got so many Shundos. Every time you do a lucky trade, the rate at which you get a 100% IV is going to be 1 in 64 within that trade. So that means this is going to be your absolute best shot at getting yourself a Shundo within this game. Pretty much every single lucky trade that you do, it's going to be like rolling a 1 in 64 sided dice. And yeah, that might seem like quite bad odds, but actually it's incredibly good if you compare it to every other method for getting Shundos. I mean, if you think about raid battles, for example, your chances of getting a 100% IV from raids is 1 in 256, and that means you're rolling a 256 sided die, and on top of that, it has to be a shiny. So yeah, lucky trades is probably the best bet for getting yourself Shundos. Regardless of whatever Pokemon it is, typically you will find players who will want to do lucky trades for shinies, and this means you will need to manage your friends list as best as you can. I mean, for myself, I have a whole bunch of trainers from all across the world in my friends list, and I try to get best buddies with every single one of my friends, but the ones that I try to focus in on even more are the ones who are local, because I'm able to trade with them without much resistance. And these are the trainers that even after I hit best friends with them, I try to interact with them on the daily. This could include opening gifts or sending gifts or doing even regular trades or doing raid battles together. These are the players that I try to interact with the most so that I could trigger lucky friends. And then whenever we trigger lucky friends, I always try to prioritize shiny Pokemon over any other Pokemon. And yeah, that's basically how I obtain some of the best Shundos in my collection, like my Rayquaza. It's probably my most prized Shundo in my collection, and I was able to get it through a lucky trade. In fact, it was actually my very first Shundo that I ever got, and it was through a very, very eventful lucky trade. It was basically, I think it was Suicune Raid Day, and I had a lucky trade lined up with one of the people that I was going to Waffle Raid with, and he was the one that wanted a Rayquaza, and I happen to have a shiny Rayquaza on hand, and he did as well. So I was like, yeah, let's just do a mirror trade, and lo and behold, I was able to get the Shundo. Unfortunately for him, it took a little bit longer before he got his first Shundo, but last I checked, he did have a Shundo Rayquaza as his buddy, so I'm really happy for him. But yeah, this is one of the best, if not the best way for you to get Shundos, and I really do think the best thing you could do for yourself is to manage your friends list every single day. Make sure you're opening and sending gifts as much as you can, and prioritize all of those friends who are local, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up a whole bunch of Shundos from those lucky friend trades. Now, the next method is going to be one that I think is a little bit controversial, but it's of course using maps during community days, and this is definitely something that a lot of players do under the table, right? Like, some local communities will actually have paid services for maps, and people will utilize those maps to drive to various 100% IV Pokemon. And considering that the rate of a Pokemon being shiny within a community day is 1 in 20, that's going to be really good odds if you're catching a whole bunch of 100% IV Pokemon on a given community day. And unfortunately, this is not something that I would ever encourage, considering that it does break the terms of service, and I've certainly heard stories of people out there who use maps and they got their accounts banned, so you do run that risk. But I'm just letting you know that this is a method that some players use, and I think the safer alternative is to just simply be as active as you can on Campfire and within your local community discords, because occasionally people will call out 100% IVs and you're essentially getting the same effect, but in a more legitimate way. Of course, your chances of getting a shundo from 100% IV callouts from your community is still going to be very low odds, but at the very least, this is some of the ways you could get yourself a shundo. Now, the next method is, well, this is also going to be very straightforward and probably something that a lot of you are already talking about in the comments as being a no-brainer, but it's just to simply play the game. Like, if you're not doing raid battles, if you're not completing field research tasks or hatching eggs, your chances of getting a shundo are 0. So yeah, you just need to simply play the game as much as you can. In case you didn't know, when it comes to raid battles and field research tasks, and even with PvP Pokemon rewards, your chances of getting a 100% IV are not necessarily that bad. They are going to be much higher than just a lucky trade, but I do think that when it comes to raid battles, it's something that you should be doing as much as you can, especially if the Pokemon can be a shiny. In fact, I have a handful of Pokemon within my collection that I was able to get from raids, and one of the biggest ones is, of course, my Shundo Necrozma, which I got from Pokemon Go Fest last year. And yeah, that was only possible because I farmed the crap out of Necrozma raids. Like, since Necrozma was in raid battles and the fusion forms were in raid battles, I raided a ton of them and I just burned through all of my premium raid passes. And as I did that, one of the raids just happened to be a shiny and 100% IV. So yeah, raid battles are a great way for you to pick up 100% IV shinies, and it's just a matter of how many of them you do. Every time you do a raid, you're rolling the dice, and in fact, with raid battles, it's going to be rolling 2 dice for a shundo. But sometimes those dice will hit, and in my opinion, it's just going to be all worth the grind if you are able to pick up a shundo. And I've certainly seen other people in my local communities and within my friends groups getting shundos from raid battles, and there's just no feeling that's similar. Like, you're always going to get super excited seeing those magic numbers for a 100% IV, and it just so happens to be a shiny. That's something that you just cannot match in Pokemon Go. So yeah, raid battles, that's a very solid way to pick yourself up shiny 100% IV Pokemon. And yeah, that's kind of basically it. I think really what it comes down to is lucky trades. That's probably going to be the absolute best method, and you need to realize that when it comes to Pokemon Go, it's a luck-based game. There's never going to be a guaranteed way of getting yourself a shundo. It's really just a matter of you manipulating your own luck. And I really do think that lucky trades is always going to be the very best method. And when it comes to lucky trades, I really think that you really need to just keep at it with your friends list and also utilize those guaranteed lucky trades, which we get additional ones every single year. In fact, I think in one of the upcoming in-game events, they're going to be increasing it up to 35. So I would do some reading on that. If you do not know what the guaranteed lucky trade system is, it's basically a hidden system within the trading mechanic where if you trade a Pokemon from a certain year, that's going to be a guaranteed lucky trade. You're going to end up getting yourself a guaranteed lucky Pokemon. So utilize that method to the best of your ability. I don't necessarily want to get into the nitty-gritty of how it works in this video. I've certainly made a lot of videos covering it, and a lot of other content creators have made phenomenal videos talking about guaranteed lucky trades. If anything, after you watch this video, you should go over and look into that, because that's probably one of the best methods for getting shundos in this game. Like, if you utilize your guaranteed lucky trades right and make sure you ask for just specifically shiny Pokemon that are incredibly rare, then you're gonna end up picking yourself up some shundos that way. And in fact, I think I have a whole bunch of shiny high IV Pokemon from my guaranteed lucky trades, so even if you don't end up getting yourself a shundo, maybe you'll get yourself a functional shundo, which is a 98% with just 14 health. So yeah, there's plenty of ways you can get shundos, but in my opinion, lucky trades are going to be the best bet. So yeah, definitely start utilizing your friends list and get your guaranteed lucky trades going, and you're gonna get yourself your first shundo in no time. I almost guarantee it. I will not guarantee it, but you will get lucky eventually. I can guarantee that at least. But yeah, One thing I will say before I end this video is that once you get your first Shundo, I will promise you they all start coming. It may take you several years before your first Shundo, but once you get that first Shundo, it feels like they're just going to constantly stream in. That's just been my own personal experience and the experience of many other players. So yeah, it's going to be about breaking that barrier, and hopefully you will. I'm wishing you all the best luck for getting Shundos, and hopefully you'll be able to get your first one really soon. Or you'll get your next one if you've already have a whole bunch of Shundos. But yeah, in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about down below. Like I said, I know some of this might be common knowledge for a lot of players who have been playing this game for a while, but for a lot of newer players, they probably have no idea about some of the different things, like guaranteed lucky trades. So yeah, definitely sound off in the comments below, and if there is a method for you to pick up Shundos that I did not mention, then definitely share it in the comments as well, so that we can have a great discussion. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. Real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Content channel, the absolute best way you can do that is always going to be by joining my Patreon. And if you become a paid Patreon member, I'm going to add you to my Pokemon Go friends list. So that means for stuff like remote raids and the friendship system, if you want to play Pokemon Go with me, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. And then finally, if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you're always welcome to do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms that you see on the bottom of your screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow. And yeah, in spite of my squeaky chair, that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and best of luck to you on getting yourself Shundos.
Jinsula